Okay, I would like to welcome His Royal Highness, Prince Edward von Anhalt. He comes from a family that 850 years ago founded Berlin. And for British people and for those in the Commonwealth, he's also the cousin of our His Royal Majesty, King Charles III. It is an absolute honor to meet you here today. Okay. I have some questions written down for you. So my first question is that Britain and many monarchies around the globe may not have full sovereignty, but they at least have a constitutional monarchy. In your view, why do you think that great nations such as Germany and Turkey doesn't have a constitutional monarchy, at least similar to Britain and other nations?
I believe always the loser pays. And we lost the war, we lost the First World War, and then after we had to give up the leaders, and this was a monarchy. Turkey also was a loser. The winner gets everything and the loser pays for it. And we also paid with our culture,
yes.
Both nations. We had to give up, even so in England, as you said, it's a constitutional monarchy, but constitutional monarchy contributes a lot to the feeling of people, feeling home, feeling connected, being united.
Absolutely, yeah, we definitely feel that. Okay, the other question I have is, if Germany were to have a monarchy and an emperor now, who would be the ruler, in your view, that could do a good, honest job in serving the Germans?
Well, I believe the good old German system of the electoral princes, my family belonged to them, has it's also sort of democratic election, elects the future king and emperor. They should choose from their own let's say families and dynasties. They should choose the right person who we think would really give the people the best they could. And then, I mean, like England, it is a former German family. They came to England because in England living part of the royal family died out. So they took them in from Hanover. And then the Queen Victoria, my aunt was the youngest grandchild of Queen Victoria, so she got married back into Germany. But then, of course, in the First World War, they had problems with Germany, so they couldn't call themselves Saxony-Gotha anymore, which was their real name, and called themselves Windsor. So we always have to focus, and this is a strength of a monarch, wherever he comes from. When he has the obligation to rule a country, he is a total national English, German before and English then. And this is what we also could have. Why not an English monarch? Why not somebody who is European-minded?
Yes.
And so on. So there are so many possibilities, but it needs first a very, very strong education and bedürfnis, as we say, willingness of the people to have more history in their lives.
Absolutely. Okay. There was a recent poll that was conducted here in Germany, I think back in March. And in that poll, there was a worrying statistic that only 8% of Germans, they showed enthusiasm towards having a monarchy. Why do you think 92% of Germans aren't in favor of having a monarchy in today's time?
Because you must see the German monarchy. It consisted of 16 national smaller kingdoms, duchies like my family, rulers who have been ruling since 1,000 years. And they, of course, differ. I mean, somebody from Bavaria would not elect somebody from Schleswig-Holstein, for example, or vice versa. So this is a very, very difficult thing. This is why I say we need the ruler of Schleswig-Holstein, the ruler of Bavaria, get together, and then out of there they choose the future king.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. So united we stand together. Okay, number 4. Recently, during King Charles III's coronation, His Royal Majesty opted to use the following words: defender of faith. Traditionally, the British monarch would use the words defender of the faith, meaning defender of Anglican Christianity, which is followed by the Church of England. And I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on King Charles using these words, defender of faith, at a time when religion all across the globe is declining?
Well, I believe just knowing history, it is very, very important to believe in the God of my ancestors. I mean, I believe I got my faith from my ancestors. If they were Islam, if they were Catholic, if they were Protestant, Buddhist, or whatever. And, but everybody should let the other believe in what he believes. He might even choose a new religion and switch. But it gives you strength. It gives you within the family, within the nation, and so on, to believe in somebody who is not on this earth. You know, it's so important to think there is somebody out there. He is good for me, and I believe in him, and he has created me, and you know, this is why I am.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So, it's a follow-up question. How important is religion to you and the monarchy as an institution?
Well, they go together. I mean, you cannot have a monarchy of any kind and have a human being putting it's a priest, it's a cardinal, it's a bishop, or it is a, you know, in your face, whatever. The head of a religious group, so it gets together the two swords of getting the influence of history and belief. They belong together. You cannot, and it is demonstrated in the moment of coronation. Yeah. And you know, and King Charles, this time he had invited the heads of many of important religious leaders, and they were just to show. I mean, you know, here are they are with you. You can believe. But you see that it's necessary. We need God in our life.
Absolutely. Okay. This question. Now, you mentioned in the beginning that you are from a family that has achieved great things, from a family that 850 years ago founded Berlin, which is the capital of Germany. So you also wrote a book recently where you cover the history of the last century about your family. My question to you is this. In the past 9 centuries, what do you see as the standout or crowning achievements from your family that continues to benefit the German nation and its people that perhaps they have forgotten about today and need to be made aware of, especially when your family is so wrongly accused of supporting the Nazis, when the truth is they were staunchly opposing them?
Yeah, you know, actually 800 years ago, the Anhalt, the county of Anhalt, of my ancestors, split from the rest of the Ascanian belongings. The Ascanians were ruling Brandenburg. They were dukes of Saxony. They were on the Rhine River here. They were ruling this region here, and so on. It was a big family, but they had to separate because it was so big. But then eventually they died out in Saxony in the 15th century, Brandenburg in the 13th century, and so on. And at the end, it was Anhalt again. The original land without wood, as it is called. And you know, our philosophy is dating back to Caesar, who said, better to be the top in a village than the second in Rome. That's it. We were always sovereign. For us, it was always, we were looking for sovereignty. Even so, at the end, again, in this tiny little 2,300 square kilometer big duchy of Anhalt.
Very interesting. So we're learning history live over here. There's another question I have, which is, can you mention some of your early memories that you have with King Charles, and how is your relationship with him today?
Well, it changed immediately when he became king. When he was Prince of Wales, he became my patron in an English garden, the first English garden on the European continent, called Wörlitz. He loves it very much. He came there with Camilla, but he also came incognito all by himself because he enjoys it so much. It's little England in the middle of Europe. And he was a part of my television show. When I worked for RTL, made Noblesse Oblige. And of course, he enhanced a lot of other royals came then into the show. And I'm at his birthdays. And when it comes to major events like the funeral of the Queen, his mother, I'm more important on television than going there myself. Because I will be a guest of amongst many, but he appreciates when I'm on the television set and talking as somebody out of the family about this event. And there is always an after party where no press is, and we meet each other. However, how it will be now as a king, he is a totally different person than Prince of Wales. He has to do what the government says.
This was my final question because in an article recently, you said that he really enjoyed being the Prince of Wales because he could say whatever he wanted. When he is crowned king, he will only be allowed to say what the government likes. So after reading and listening to these incredible quotes you made, do you think King Charles will speak his mind in spite of being king now, considering Queen Elizabeth II, his mother, was always tight-lipped in comparison?
Yes, I mean, she was tight-lipped because she was her work was to meet and every week with the prime minister. I think there were 37 or 36 prime ministers she cooperated with, and the prime ministers knew that she had to sign every document. The document had to fit the people. If it was a leftist government, they had to go a little right. If it was conservative, they had to become a little more social, or she wouldn't sign. But at the end, they always had a document both could live with, and then she signed. But I'm sure that there would be a document she refused to sign, the people would be on her side, because they would say, if she doesn't sign it, it wouldn't be good for us. And this motherly statue she had was showed on her funeral. Never in the world on television ever so many people were watching and mourning and a woman's death. She was like a mother of the world. I don't know how many billion were on the television. And this shows how if monarchy has a very lot of facets. And Charles, of course, is a totally different. He is working. I'm a member of his trust. He helped 10,000 of poor people, invested in their businesses or even already in education and so on. And he's very, very much loved in the lower classes more than in the higher classes. Where he said, for example, the English architects destroyed more in London than German bombers did, and so on. Of course, they didn't like to hear this, and now he couldn't say it anymore.
And I've got about two more questions, but one question is that's coming to my mind right now is that in my country, a lot of people, they're so opposed to King Charles. They're like, well, some of them, not my king, they chant. And they say that they cost a lot of money to taxpayers. What would you say to such people?
I discuss this. I'm in London often. My youngest daughter, is living there, and she was very skeptical. But at the end, what is the alternative? American situation, German situation, France? I mean, they have Mr. Johnson was not easy for the people in England, and there was a king and a queen on those days, and they survived, within the nation. And this is what the monarchy is for, to keep people together even in but of course you can never expect that 100% of people are for monarchy. Or, I mean, people, Charles believes that as long as 50% and a little more than 50% are for this monarchy, then he will serve. If they don't want it anymore, there will be no guillotine and no, it has changed the times. But 50% is a lot. I mean, I know hardly a democratic party which gets 50%. No?
And the irony is that the last prime minister that Queen Elizabeth II came face to face with, so Queen Elizabeth lasted 70 years and she lasted only 3 weeks. Yeah. So this is like the biggest irony ever. Yes. Okay, my final question to you is this, that how do you feel coming here to the Royal Ottoman Society? We were very honored, myself and everyone over here, the entire team, for having you and also your companion here.
I must say I was in school 70 years ago in Garmisch in the Bavarian Alps with two wonderful Turkish boys from Izmir. So I got a very early touch into the history of your great Ottoman history and so on. And when I heard about from the Bismarck that there is this occasion to meet you in Berlin, so I went there and I was totally enthusiastic about the feeling of the response of the people when I see around. There was so much positive vibration. And then I was, of course, so happy I got the invitation to Ludwigshafen. So, of course, I'm here and I enjoyed it totally and had a wonderful time.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute honor from everyone on everyone's behalf. Okay.